Patriotism is a feeling of love, devotion, and the willingness to sacrifice for one's country.
I say no to corruption because I put my country first. I choose peace over violence because I put my country first.
I love Uganda. I serve Uganda. I sacrifice for Uganda. I'm loyal to Uganda. I love myself.
Be patriotic. Uganda first. This message is brought to you by the National Secretariat for Patriotism Co-Uganda, Office of the President.
When you talk about our motherland Uganda, the Pearl of Africa, you cannot fail to smile because of the smile that fills the faces of the citizens. Our nice good weather and nature that sustains us all, that enables us all to continue each in their own way because we are all different even according to each individual's work. But what joins us to become one person is the sweetness from the flavored drink Alleluia Jingati drink and Alleluia Tamarind drink. The flavor that quenches your thirst while at the same time treating and healing your body because it is 100% natural. Enjoy the drink that has got the tamarind juice in it. Made by Alleluia Reflexology, Healthy Solutions and Nutritional Research Center Limited. Get yourself a bottle of Alleluia from all shops around.
It's no secret that ICT makes learning easy.
The strides made in our field could not be possible without it.
And now we can watch our favorite show.
My radio is my best friend.
UCC provides an enabling regulatory environment and policy guidance for healthy competition. We also facilitate ease of doing business in the communications sector through licensing, standardization, spectrum management, tariff regulation, rural communication development, and consumer empowerment. An informed consumer is an empowered consumer. UCC supports local content and innovations. Driving the development of a robust communication sector in Uganda is Uganda Communications Commission.
Patriotism is a feeling of love, devotion, and the willingness to sacrifice for one's country.
I say no to corruption because I put my country first. I choose peace over violence because I put my country first.
I love Uganda. I serve Uganda. I sacrifice for Uganda. I'm loyal to Uganda. I love myself.
Be patriotic. Uganda first. This message is brought to you by the National Secretariat for Patriotism Co-Uganda, Office of the President.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda.
Now today being the first day of September 2021 also brings quite beautiful resumes about how far we've come, at least into there. And the question is, how much time is remaining as we end this year, but how much is left for us to be done in terms of what we can achieve and what can be done. Good Morning Uganda comes to you Monday to Friday, and today being a Wednesday, we must say it's a slice of actually the week. And normally Wednesdays are midweek, and the expectation is that the week is almost done. How much have you done as you usher yourself into this beautiful also new month? The saying is that, or the word on the street is that coronavirus is still killing people. Probably also the fears that numbers are still rising. So what are you doing to prevent yourself from contracting this so-called deadly virus, coronavirus, and also keeping your people safe? As we've always said, make sure you keep on the drills. Put on your mask, keep social distance, stay away from crowds. Most importantly, wash your hands, keep your hands clean, keep all your surfaces that you get intact with very, very clean. For some of you who can have assured good meals, make sure you eat well so you can boost your immunity. But also importantly, make sure those who are able to get vaccinated, please get vaccinated. For most of the people who are in the education sector, we yearn to have our schools open, we yearn to have our universities open, but do not also forget that it is our job to make sure that our children are safe. Now, speaking about safety, I'm also joined by beautiful people, and in particular, I don't know if I've had people say beautiful, my beautiful husband, and I don't know if beautiful works to men, but let me just start with Robert and saying, good morning, Robert.
Good morning to you, Felix, and good morning to you, dear viewers. Thank you so much for making us a TV of your choice this lovely morning. Well, Felix, yes, some men are extremely handsome, that I even define them as beautiful. I remember when we were growing up, people used to say that some young boys look as if they are girls, and therefore they'll say he's not only handsome, but he's also beautiful, extremely. And I remember I was one of those kids when growing up. So that definition, and sometimes people take it to the extreme, but it is a new month, and of course I know there are things you set up to do as this year was starting. So it's a time to evaluate yourself. How far have you gone? Maybe your goals were so high that you need to adjust a bit, but also learn that COVID-19 could have changed certain things and you're not able to get them as you had earlier planned. However, still, it is your life and you're on this planet called Earth for a purpose. Are you living your purpose? And to those in government, this is a humble request. When COVID-19 came in, there's so much that government invested in ensuring that actually people's livelihoods are improved. And recently I've been looking at news away from the Masaka issue. There is so much of mismanagement of funds. I was watching a story regarding that is the relief fund, COVID-19, the 100,000, where we see people get 5 times. Yes, a report is yet to come out. Then we saw in Mbarara, even when they sent money to village health teams that were going to help in this time, some decided to embezzle, still put people on this list. So can we have thinking, have that quiet place of your mind and say, Lord, you put me in this place to deliver, not to steal. What if we begin a new month with that in your mind? That we make sure whatever resources come our way, they serve their purpose. Because for sure, I've seen so much of this. We need to have a change.
So speaking about change, Robert, I also would want to change and say hello to my dear Molen. Good morning, Molen.
Yes, a very good morning to you, Felix and Robert, and one morning to you, lovely viewers. Yes, I think I have something with my voice, but
we have what can handle that. Robert has the best for that, I can tell you.
I know he has saved a bottle for me, so I'm just going to have to take that as well. But yes, it is a lovely morning. We are left with just 4 months to end the year. This is like, it's nice. Looking at how far we've come, I'm starting to think this year is actually almost over, because it's really a few months remaining. I don't know about whoever set goals, but me, I don't really set goals, but
you just leave it as it comes.
Yeah, as it comes, and then take steps towards what I want to achieve. So I've taken. You guys, I don't think the proverb is like that. It probably has some other framing. We need to work on that. But the part.
Speaking about achievements and looking at goals in life, there are these particular things that we grew up knowing, like how we were kids, and every time they used to tell us, what do you want to be? What is that one thing you wanted to be from childhood? Like every time one would say teacher, pilot, policeman, doctor. What is that one thing you wanted to be?
I actually wanted to be a pilot.
Say what?
Yeah, I wanted to be a pilot. And And I tried. I think that's how I ended up in aviation because, yeah, my whole goal was towards being a pilot. And somehow when I reached there, when I got there, it was kind of a lot. And at that point, I was like, okay, am I going to be away from home for like months or something? So I imagined a life where I'm never anywhere, like in one place. So I'm like, okay, maybe it's time I divert and find any other aviation thing. I think that's how I ended up in weather still.
So basically, don't worry. The good thing is that you're still piloting your feet.
Oh yeah, that's
locomotion. Robert, what is that one particular thing you always wanted to be as a child?
Felix, you've asked me this question a number of times.
Oh yeah, have I?
Yeah.
All right.
But I'll repeat the same. I wanted to be a pilot. And how did that dream change? It was when I visited a friend of mine, and the parents were by then the head of Mengo Hospital, and when they talked about how much they were paying at Sorti Flying School, being a firstborn, I knew I could never raise that money.
The dream got crushed.
The dream got crushed. And actually, even dream my crusher. Interest so much into
parents that you visited were your dream crusher.
No, this guy was called Ephraim. Good is now a pilot. And Ephraim told me what you need, the money is the mother. Because even at the status of their parents, they were struggling. They were giving an arm and leg to ensure that he's in this school. So it was expensive, I think by then about 22M, 21. And I was like, okay, I have those below me. If I'm to raise this money.
That wasn't your problem to worry.
It was.
You should have just addressed the matter with your father.
I knew for you worry about what to study. You worry about mastering the
there are certain situations.
Don't try to be.
I really knew that this was not going to be.
Yeah, those kids.
But then I'm happy. But then I'm happy that at least my second dream, because I had three. I wanted to be a pilot, I wanted to be a journalist, or a veterinary
But you can't have three dreams at once.
No, priorities. First choice was being a pilot. Second, a journalist. Third, I wanted to do veterinary medicine.
So at least now you're a journalist.
I'm a journalist.
And you have dogs. It is closer to being a vet.
Yeah.
But I've not, actually the good thing is over experience in this dog breeding. I also treat sometimes I treat animals here and there, and I know I've not lost it. Being a vet, I've not lost it.
You treat whose dogs?
His own dogs.
But let me tell you, Felix, one interesting
thing. You see, all of us
are
doctors when it comes to animals. No, at
that level, but for me, let me tell you, would you inject them? You
yes, and you would put the droplets one on the eyes, coco.
Okay.
So I'm also a vet, if that's a qualification.
No. You're not a professional vet. Mine is a different thing. Mine is a bit advanced to your Jaja. Anyway, but this is something different.
All right, but of course today we'll be missing our darling dear Priscilla today because she's not feeling a little bit good. She's probably not feeling good. But we are with you in spirit, and we hope that you feel much better and get better so you're here so we can start the duo. But anyway, far from that, we want to take you through some of the stories that have been trending for the last 24 hours, and of course to bring you up to speed with that also trending internationally. There's so much happening on both scenes, locally and international, and Robert will be taking us through some of the local stories.
And we'll begin with the pigs in Masaka that have caused havoc, but their time seems that is President Yoweri Museveni has described as pigs those behind the murders happening in Greater Masaka, saying their time is up. He was commissioning prisons officers at Kololo Independence Grounds. President Yoweri Museveni Tibuhaburra passed out 364 prisons officers, including cadet assistant, superintendents, and non-commissioned officers. Speaking at Kololo Independence Grounds in Kampala, President Museveni reiterated that Parliament, police, judiciary, and the prisons should play their role as stipulated in the law, cautioning them against torture. Museveni broke silence about the ongoing murders in Greater Masaka, referring to the criminals as pigs. At least 29 people have been killed by machete-wielding men in the Greater Masaka area, causing fresh fears among the public. Museveni applauded the prison's leadership for emulating their counterparts of the UPDF in professionalizing the institution, saying the future is bright. Museveni commissioned the Commissioner General of Prisons, that is Dr. Johnson Byabashaija, applauded government for increasing their budget. The commissioned officers will be deployed to serve in 259 stations, housing a total of 65,147 inmates countrywide.
Cabinet has made a number of approvals and decisions in the sitting that took place on 30th of this month at State House in Entebbe. Among them is the approval of East African Crude Oil Pipeline Bill 2021 and the approval of rebuilding Mccarran University main building. Cabinet has approved the recommendations from the two technical committee for the restoration of Mccarran University main administration building. And ICT Minister Dr. Chris Badiomosi says Cabinet approved the entire main building be demolished and rebuilt to match its previous form. Now, the university should ensure that all CCTV cameras in the building are fully functional and monitored from the central surveillance room. Well, Cabinet also approved the East Africa Crude Oil Pipeline Bill 2021 to ensure effectiveness of the country Uganda hosting government's agreement for the East Africa Crude Oil Pipeline. They also approved the proposed principles for the amendments of the Employment Act 2006 to enable government regulate employment relations in the interest of employees and employers.
And away from that, we still move to Parliament regarding the massacre killings, where members of Parliament have proposed an improvement in the country's intelligence system to counter rising cases of organized crime. The MPs appeal to government following the fragile security situation in Greater Massacre that has left some innocent people hacked to death by unknown assailants. Presenting a report before Parliament, State Minister for Internal Affairs, General David Muhoozi, called for more logistic in this operation to ensure they intensify operations in the country. The security situation in Greater Massacre area is still fragile. It has prompted Deputy Speaker of Parliament, Anita Amongi, to relay members of Parliament to observe a moment of silence in memory of those murdered by the assailant. This was before a report on the situation was presented to the House by State Minister for Internal Affairs, General David Muhoozi. The report was to attract criticism from members of Parliament. Whereas they agreed with some aspects, some holes were poked in the report. It took the intervention of Deputy Speaker of Parliament, Anita Amongi, to prevail over them.
Well, more coming in from Parliament about Sudan insecurity. The State Minister for Foreign Affairs, Okello Oryem, says Uganda is in talks with the government of South Sudan for a joint security operations to tackle the murder of Ugandan truck drivers. Now, Minister Oryem says that the murder of truck drivers in South Sudan is orchestrated by a rebel group led by Juan Celino. He and the senior JJ Odong, together with other officials from the ministry, were appearing before the Parliament Committee on Foreign Affairs. Well, officials from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, led by Minister JJ Odong, have appeared before the Committee of Foreign Affairs. They were responding to severe security issues, including border point insecurity, especially between Rwanda and Uganda and South Sudan. The committee was chaired by Nora Vigira, woman MP, Bulisa District. Now, the appearance follows growing insecurity between the Uganda-Rwanda border and Uganda-South Sudan borders. Well, that's it from our local news. Felix is ready to take us through the international news. Felix.
Well, of course, now we'll definitely dive into our international stories, where we'll be looking at Taliban parades at Kabul airport after US exit. Now, hours after the last foreign forces withdrew from Afghanistan, the Taliban leaders walked victoriously through the Kabul airport, flanked by guards dressed up in special forces combat kit, inspecting the destroyed military equipment of the US. Now, Taliban spokesperson Zabullah Mujahid led a group of officials onto the runway and a bold grin on his usually toy-sick face. Now, congratulations to Afghanistan. This victory belongs to all of us. Mujahid told reporters America was defeated. They could not achieve their targets through military operation, he said. Now, the Taliban Abadri 313, a special force unit, posed for pictures. That is a brandishing U.S. rifles and flying the group's white flag. Was one of the most secure sites in Afghanistan. The airport passenger terminal was left in chaos with empty bullet casings littering in the floor near all the entrances. Now, still looking at international stories, 7 black men were executed for an alleged rape in 1951. Decades later, they have been pardoned. Now, a group of young black men executed after being convicted by all-white juries of allegedly raping a white woman have been pardoned in, that is, Virginia, 70 years after their death. Now, Tuesday, that is, Governor Ralph Northam granted, that is, a pothecium pardon to the Mattville 7. While these pardons do not address the guilt of the 7, they serve as recognition from the Commonwealth that these men were tried without adequate due process and received a racial biased death sentence not similarly applied to white defendants. That is, Northam office of said that we all deserve a criminal justice system that is fair, equal, and gets it right, no matter who you are or what you look like. I'm grateful to the advocates and families of the Martinvilles 7 for their dedications and perseverance, he also noted. Now, crossing over to Africa, we'll be looking at Zambia's ex-president Facebook account deactivated. Facebook account of Zambia's former president Edgar Lungu has been deactivated. Now, Zambia on Twitter blamed cyberbullying, saying that people had been making means a comment on his page. Lungu lost his rival Hakainde Hichilema of the Unity Party for National Development in a presidential election earlier this month. Former head of state, a Twitter account is still available with some comments on his religious posts mocking him. His Twitter account has fewer followers, about 167, compared to more than 1 million on Facebook. Now, a youth leader in the new ruling party said it was sad to see that Mr. Lungu had to take down his Facebook page. He urged people not to attack the former president online. Our differences with him were never personal, but with the policies he pursued. That is UPND Joseph Kilimbwe tweeted. The public must shift from attacking him online and move with us towards the path of national building. Well, basically that's what is on international scene. You look at more of the same in what we gave you in our local stories. Now, probably later on we'll also be diving into more of our normal program drills, where we'll be having our newsreel, and we'll be talking about still our clinical trials of medicine, that is local medicine. Also, we shall have Mullen giving us updates on what's happening in nature and weather. But of course, Robert later on will be having the Archbishop of the Church of Uganda talking about the fundraising drive for the church. They have been trying to work out ways, so we'll be having more and more insights in the same. But also later on, Robin will be coming here to tell us the Silverbacks yesterday did great. They hit Nigeria very well, very well. It gave Nigeria a good beating, and that was one of the biggest threats. Remember, Nigeria won USA in the Olympics, so the boys were, that was our biggest scare. So we're sure we are at the semi-finals, even ahead of the other team, which is what we have played 2 or 3 times, you know. So I think we are doing good, apart from the story that came out about money lenders. The money was paid now. All those things I guess Ruben will be diving into, and probably John Barnes to give us a more insight of what's happening in the camp there in Rwanda. But Robert also is holding tight on his Hallelujah bottle. Hope he doesn't break the grip.
Well, this is a drink, Felix, that does wonders when it comes to boosting your immune system.
Mole needs one this morning.
Yeah, definitely I'm going to pass on one. Because we know some things have become scarce to find. We are no longer in the other rural setting where we just get some of these. But what happens, Hallelujah Reflexology, they have gotten all that you need, compacted them into this drink. It is a natural drink certified by the Uganda National Bureau of Standards. So what you're taking is genuine and really will help boost your immune system. So move to the nearest supermarket, a retail shop, and ask for Hallelujah Jinga tea or Hallelujah turmeric drink. These are going to do you very well, more so at a time when we have so much of colds around. It's a cold weather, and usually a number of diseases attack you, but with Jinga and of course turmeric, you're good to go. So this is our advice to you as you kickstart your day.
Well, of course, Molen, maybe also to tell us what are you having for us later.
Well, this morning, the 1st of September, we do have the World Meteorological Organization that has come out with the new atlas. Now, the atlas is looking at the extreme weather events from the period of 1970 to 2019. Now, what is in there is looking at what the weather has been like for that period in terms of extreme events, and that is all world through. So we'll be looking at more on that during weather and nature.
Well, of course, what else we'll be looking at is our poll question, where we want you guys to go ahead and make comments through our social media platforms. And our poll question is, how can government support herbalists to ensure more supportive medicine for COVID-19? How can government support herbalists to ensure more supportive medicine for COVID-19? And you can share your true sentiments through our Twitter handle, that is #UBCGMU, WhatsApp number 0709 60 25 92. But also you can leave a comment on Facebook, and for some of you who are watching us live on YouTube, equally you can leave a comment. What else is happening is a song for the day. Let's take a break. When we come back, Robert and myself will be taking you through our newsroom.
This is Good Morning Uganda.
Pick of the day on UBC, brought to you by
Authentically symbolic and insightful.
We should work so hard to evacuate this power.
Behind the Headlines, every Wednesday at 10 p.m. with Charles Odongto.
Was brought to you by...
We've cut and reduced our Mtn Momo withdrawal rates. Now you can withdraw mobile money at the lowest rates. You also get MTN Century Points when you deposit, send and withdraw MTN mobile money. Visit our Momo agents countrywide and withdraw mobile money at our reduced rates from 1st May 2021. Everywhere you go. MTN.
Getting GoTV was the best decision James has ever made. Finding a good place to watch football was never easy, but it was costly until James discovered something big. Now he can finally enjoy the benefits of homegrown advantage with a decoder and 1 month of GoTV value. For just 25,000 shillings, enjoy the world's biggest leagues and cup competitions. GoTV Uganda, love it.
Echa COVID-19 chijja kugwa only if we stay at home, observe physical distancing, wear masks properly, sanitize or wash our hands with soap and water regularly, or get vaccinated now.
Uganda, today is a great day to work towards your dreams. Dial *185 *7# and select savings to save as low as 500 Ugandan shillings on regular savings or 250,000 Ugandan shillings for fixed deposits. Airtel Money Super Saver is powered by KCB Bank Uganda. Airtel Money, instant, secure, borderless. T's and C's apply.
5 for 5, 5 times the winning, yeah. 5 times the happiness, yeah. 5 times the luckiness, yeah. 5 for 5, oh yeah. It's 5 for 5. 5 for 5, 5 times the money, yeah. 5 times the shopping, yeah. 5 times the prizes, yeah. 5 for 5, oh yeah. It's 5 for 5. 5 for 5.
Win! 100,000 Uganda shillings weekly in the 5 for 5 jackpot. Simply download the Center mobile app. Click Center on the go to open your account online. Transact 5 times or more using Center Mobile, Center Visa, and Center Agent to stand a chance to win. The more you transact, the higher your chances of winning. So, participate in the 5 for 5 jackpot and win millions in daily and weekly prizes. The 5 for 5 jackpot is brought to you by Centenary Bank. Our bank. Centenary Bank is regulated by the Bank of Uganda. Customer deposits are protected by the Deposit Protection Fund.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda.
It is a new day, a new month, and we are here to ensure that we give you all the relevant information you need to know as you begin your day. Well, what a lovely song by Rema Namakula there, Banyabo. And I want to dedicate that song to all the single mothers. Mothers in particular, but to be more specific, that is to all the single mothers out there. Of late, we have a number of men absentee fathers, not because of death, but they're actually absent in the lives of their children. And the mothers are the fathers. They look for the school fees, they look for everything. Thumbs up to you, you're women of noble cause that have not chosen to desert your children, but take on the burden of both being the father and the mother in their lives. Well, it is time we discuss health. But Felix, why were you looking at me with that before? Why?
No, you sort of like make it look like it's prestigious to be a single mother, is it?
No, it isn't.
Do you know that most of the women lately think it's fashionable?
Oh.
And that's why, as a matter of fact, I do not deny the fact that they are very terrible men who are very irresponsible. But I know for a fact that women think it's fashionable to be single mothers. How many, you see, it's a generational problem. Look at the generation of your mothers. Do you think the problems they are facing with men have changed?
I highly doubt they have
changed.
changed.
That's what I'm saying. But why is it that you don't have almost, there's zero single mother unless the man had died. Zero single mother.
Even when the man died, they would remind.
In our mothers, zero. But the problems today, the women's choice, you know, it's easy for them. They want always the easy way out. So that's why I feel bad, but there must be some level of perseverance. You know, what's why when you talk about single mothers, kudos, you're the generation of today, what I'm thinking,
I say that. I'm saying I just praise them. They have
look
not
like
abandoned their children, or just sent them to wherever the father is.
No.
Again, Mccarran, but they're saying, I'll stand with my kid throughout.
Who do you want to stand for your kid? Of course, it's just like you coming to thank me for paying tuition or school fees for Tori.
But there are ladies that abandon their children when the relationships break up. They'll either send them to the grannies of the father.
That's not abandoning.
Suffering, and there are those who say, wherever I am, I'll be with my children. I'll fetch for them.
I think a song like that is a very motivational song for women and should help them rethink the kind of relationships they get into. The reason they never think about the kind of relationships they get into. That's the problem. That's why you want a short-term, you want a long-term relationship, you're acting short-term.
And at the end of the day,
you get
you go parallel.
That's what
Let's go to our news raw story this morning, where we are going to be looking at clinical trials for herbal remedies or herbal medicines in the treatment of COVID-19. And yesterday, it was clear that government is going to embark on clinical trials for so far what we have. We must recall that, yes, COVID-X was given a leeway by the Uganda National Custodians, and it's now something that we can use for treatment of COVID-19, but as a supportive treatment. There is a but. And now we have about four that are really being worked on, and clinical trials are going to commence before the third wave of COVID-19. That is what we are told by Dr. Monica Mosenero, and she said they are doing all it takes to ensure they streamline the process, that anybody who could come up with a herbal remedy to COVID-19 and has to go through the scientific processes to justify and authenticate this has to follow. We have COVID-X by Professor Paul Ogwang, that is from Bara University, cleared, it is on market, you can access it. In the offing we have Covisil, this is by Dr. That is Dr. Alice Veronica Lamwaka also, they are working on that. And we saw government, yes, pumping a couple of amounts there, millions there, to ensure that, yes, this goes through all the process of certifying it, accrediting it, and Ugandans can take use of it. We have UBVO1N. This is by Mccarran University, and the lead scientist here is Dr. Grace Nambatia. We have Vidicel. This is by Kazire Health Products. So these are what we are looking at, and what government is saying, let them go through. Now the process of clinical trial is going to commence, and we see how best, if they really satisfy. What are we referring to? Yes, you develop, you come up, you mix your herbs, and it is very clear you can use them, but there must be scientifically proven that they treat people that particular disease. And this brings us to our poll question this moment. How can government support herbalists to ensure more supportive medicine for COVID-19 is available to Ugandans? And remember, to reply through our WhatsApp numbers, you can send in your contribution on our poll question and our various social media platforms. That is you can find us on Facebook, that is UBC TV Uganda, on Twitter at UBC TV Uganda. You can still use our WhatsApp. Send us a WhatsApp message, that is on 0709 60 25 92. So those are the various means on your screen how you can send in your views, and we will be reading them out. Felix,
yes, sir. First
and foremost, there is one thing that COVID brought out very clear. In the first wave, movement was restricted. You would not fly out of Uganda. We reached a point where it was very clear that we had to develop our own solutions, because COVID proved that to us. That time can come relying on the foreign world, it doesn't work. So we are seeing our scientists, so if I have those from universities, maybe a few from Kasile, going in to come up with local solutions to solve problems.
You see, Robert, sadly and very sad is that it had to take us COVID-19, the so-called pandemic, for us to appreciate what has been before our nose and eyes. It's very sad. I don't think it had to be COVID to wake us up in terms of the potential we have and on an approach of a vast aspects. Even if you look at other areas, it didn't have to take COVID-19 to open up our eyes to many things. And just even as I come to medicine lastly, look at how much we have discovered we can do in terms of agriculture in this time. Look at how much we can do in terms of business, the online, the what. It had to take COVID for us to understand that, look here, we must discover solutions for our problems. I remember when the president was in Munyonyo, I think they had a stakeholders engagement, something, and he said that Africa has been betrayed by the Western world. Betrayed, totally.
Because you've always been relying on them.
On them. But when it came to times of vaccinating, they said, no, we are starting with our... I don't know how that is betrayal.
Which was an obvious thing in my
I don't know.
How would I give a neighbor's children food when mine are starving?
So I don't think that was betrayal, but I think it was a good thing. And I love the fact that he ended his speech saying, but thank you, that is a good thing. Now we have also our guns, guys scratching their heads, and the results are clear. I have consistently read, they're called testimonies of people who have healed of COVID-19, testifying about some of these drugs, like Covidex in particular. You read a story one time in New Vision, Daily Monitor, and for me this was so joyous. These things that you see today could have been done 20 years ago.
I know what is funny about this, Felix, that these things we are talking about are what our grandparents, are what generations in this country were surviving on before we were brainwashed, allow me to use that word, to think that there is something coming from the foreign world which is much better than what we have.
Robert, let me just say this on top of what you're saying. I am not a health expert, but I know for a fact there are principles and facts about health. And I want you to bring it from a statistical point of appreciation. 20 years ago, 15, 20 years ago, what was the rate of cancer versus currently?
Very minimal cases were registered of cancer.
Look at the mortality rate 20 years ago. Look at the number of women who would die amidst. I mean, just do a comparison. That would inform you of what we think is civility vis-a-vis informal. This that you're seeing, the clinical trials that will happen, there is nothing imported. The only thing that can be imported maybe is, and nowadays also don't import plastic, which they are going to put it in. There's nothing. Now, that shows you that this Covidex has been exported all over Africa. There's a time we looked for it and we were saying it is being exported to Congo. Manyak Kenya made orders. That is the power. What is the most important thing at this point, if we are at the level of clinical trials? What is the role of other sectors? And for me, that's what is quite important for now to discuss. Now that we have something that has come up, let us look at the institutions that have clear and direct mandate into supporting some of these initiatives. The very first one is the policy makers. Law and policy makers, that's the August House. I don't even think they ever discuss these things.
A bit of excitement comes in, and then there are other issues that of national importance that they move to. But how, when you talk about policy, the August House, how would they assist this?
We need a law. There must be a law that causes one protection, and that is the arguments that have been around. What is the law about patenting? Some of these formulas, what is the law? Do we have a law in place that makes it comfortable for one Kirabo to scratch and invest into. By the way, these things have been there. We have so many people who do these hubs and their work. In fact, only that, you see, there's a lack of professionalizing people's work here if it's informal. I can give you an example. I grew up in Nalwoga around Musigura, where we knew that if anyone got a broken bone, any sort, we had a lady called Nyense. Now she's the late. But of course, she died and she left the son, I think someone called Siwa. That person, like, yayunganga abantu. You get the point? That these people just need support to professionalize this work informally. You get it? The people who know the real herbs, what one can call the concoction, are informal. And because of that kind of, they have not been professionalized. These doctors you're seeing, they're from the Guang and what. These
high institutions of learning.
These ones actually are doing things people have already done down there. Because Uganda has been gifted in various ways. In terms of most of these herbs, the trees, the seed, all these things. And I can give you an example. Like don't you think animals get sick?
They do.
Who gets their temperature? Who covers them? Who injects them? Most of these animals.
They move around and
eat grass. They know the specific grasses. Now,
yes.
how different are we? For example, from a dog, not very, very different. What am I saying? We have what it takes. We just need added support, policy guidance, law, and of course, funding. These guys have come up. People are struggling. We're talking about reopening schools. These are the solutions we are looking
Professor
for.
Guang talked about making about 1 million that are going to be used if
is
schools
what we are talking
open.
about.
Felix, you talked about, now we know that there is so much that has to be done to ensure that those in the informal sector, because when you move around, you'll find that many of these herbal medicines, yes, do work, but the challenge is proof or evidence to take them to another level.
But let me ask you a question.
And this is why many have said some of these processes are very expensive.
Robert.
For example, getting herbal medicine to this level, if you're to go through the requirements by government. Felix, I could be knowing that Babalibawo Bayunga, I think you've heard of that family, that when you break, they have what they use, but scientifically to prove that,
now,
the criteria for this to
Robert,
go through may be very expensive and ordinary.
That is one of the biggest problems of poor countries and poor people also, by the way. And with due respect, if someone doesn't have a mind of wealth, they don't think like wealth people.
Let me hear the mind of a wealthy person.
How dare you ask me to do a clinical trial? The best measurement is the patient. You cannot tell me that Kirabo has massaged someone's bone and it has healed, and you want to do a clinical trial. Which better clinical trial is that?
Let me just remind you.
Let me know.
No,
let me tell
on
you.
that, I want to remind you, if you remember His Excellency, when he came out and said that our doctors in Mulago had medicine they have come out with that treats COVID-19. But it had to go through clinical trials of about 500 people plus to monitor strictly that they have not used anything else but that particular medicine as what has healed them. So for clinical trials, maybe you could be using VD-cell and you're adding on something else. So they want to monitor you strictly, have these patients apply this and ensure nothing else you've applied. We monitor, we register, we record, and finally say, yes, this has healed.
Let me ask you a question. When did Uganda do clinical trial for this medicine, for these vaccinations they are giving us?
That is why it's only COVID-19 that has been approved.
No, these vaccinations, did they do the clinical trials domestically?
No, they didn't.
Manyanga Johnson, Manyanga Koismani.
World Health Organization carried out and raised it for emergency.
What I'm saying, Chichinkugamba. You see, we must focus on the end of our intentions as we do something. How many, who did quinine, all these, I don't even, so many medicines in the hospitals. And that's why I was telling people who are saying that don't go for vaccination. When you go to take your child for immunization, do you even ever ask the content of what they are vaccinating the child with? You see, all these things are important. The clinical trials are very important purposes of protection and knowing dosage and what. But at the end of the day, our focus can't be on that, on red tape. Our focus must be bigger than that. If there is need for clinical trials, how do we enhance them to make them faster? So we don't have to take 3 years. Because our focus must be on the intention, the outcome. Let us focus what is the intended outcome of all these processes. Let me tell you, Robert, one of the challenges, and I've told you, poverty thinking is red tape. It's one of the things, red tape. I've told Kirabo, you go, dig there, make bricks. Now, what Kirabo will do, then we go to the weather and find out, will it rain in Wednesday? Poverty thinking, that even where there's an opportunity, you want to see a problem. You want to glorify a problem more than the opportunity. We have an opportunity today that there are people who are coming out left, right, center with solutions. Let us focus on that for starters. For example, let me tell you, there is no best clinical trial. If you give it, like I remember for us when talking about pets earlier, what Judge used to tell us that mugene ko muziwo muluruza musedemu ne kunjaga. For you to by midday ngono koko ne kubula. Ngakadu said that it has already it's fine. Kati, then you want to tell me that I can check whether that works. What better evidence is there?
That is what government is saying. We are going to come up with a streamlined that is a process through which you can submit. But remember, we are in a crisis, Robert. We are in a crisis. Businesses are closed, schools are closed, and so many other offices. People are losing jobs. The economy is doing badly. Okay? Now, as you want to say we are going to before the third wave,
you get the point. We must act quick, and that's why I'm saying we must. This is a time where we must engage in some of these discussions with Parliament as a policymakers, or rather issues of law. Cabinet must come up with policy and to guide some of these innovations. Now that will encourage other innovations. It's a good starting place for other innovators. But also, Robert, secondly, let me emphasize this. We must create a place of formalizing informal existences in terms of drugs. I don't know how better I can break that down. That the thought of thinking or the thought of us trying to only limit some of these developments to educated professors, doctors, what must be, I think it's myopic. Let us create a place for informal formalization.
Well, I think under Grace number, a few bodies have been coming up to ensure that herbalists in the country are brought together and they can be assisted.
And why am I saying this?
Their product.
Why am I saying this? Between you and me, you know that we are not among even the first 100 countries in the world in terms of healthcare. And it is understandable as a third world country. Look at our health system. Do we have enough hospitals? Do we have enough beds? Do we have enough doctors? How are we paying them? Facilitation? What is the budgetary allocation for all of this? Now, it means that we must also put enough effort into the complementary processes to our health system. And these are some of them. That, for example, as we always say that if there are situations that don't have to come to hospital, you know, we can't have someone who's going for surgery at hospital and someone who has a chifuba to hospital. It means that we are going to have our resources focused on the most critical aspects of medical care. Then later on we can have these ones solved by these so-called informal people. If we can have good medicine for cough on the market from our herbalist, kudos. We can have good medicine that probably helps stomach pain, headache, what. These are,
yes.
But instead of having congestion at mulago, oriakagalo kamuluma aze mulago. Then bamuyombeseza stress and all these things are there because we have medicine hubs that work on stress.
So then, Felix, also there are threats that yes, with the coming up of some of these medicines, why maybe government is ensuring that the stringent, strict guidelines for them to be accessing the market is also exploitation. That yes, we've had a couple of hubs on market, and some have been found not to be working, some have been just mixing certain things and fleecing the public of their money, using a desperate situation to just extort money or get money, taking advantage of the situation.
I don't think that should be a worry. I think that's an excuse for whoever said it, because they are not doing their job. For example, Robert, can you say that you can't wake up one day and tell your wife, because normally people have labor pains. Can you? Definitely. Can your woman tell you, I don't want to get pregnant because there are labor pains? That would be stupid or foolhardy. So when you say that, you know what, we are not going, then you say, I'm not going to buy a cab because there are people who steal cars.
The government is that much as you want
that is myopic.
You must have a safeguard. And these are some of the measures.
Let them put it there. If they know the problem, let them get the solution. If people are fleecing people with wrong medicine on the market, that is a problem, you know. The solution is easier gotten. You get it? How many are there? Those are simple pockets. Enhance enforcement. You know, you're creating units in the police theft right center for what? For what? So create a unit if you want to build this
that
sector.
can counter
yes.
this. Yes.
So, but that for me, there can't be an issue. I think the biggest thing is that let us open our eyes to how we can try to use this informal, what people are considering as informal. Robert, abantu bamanye dagala je bali, and it works. Have you heard of this?
Biggest challenge has always been, Felix, you see, also times have changed. That previously you would go to somebody, now kuwera mchikopo, amag mwana wangenywa. Today we are moving that. Okay.
You know that?
No.
It is like a pot, but it's broken. Orujo. Mumbo orujo. No. Edagati bagabira mbikopo wakulira wagu. Enywe mumba bajinywera mbikopo.
I don't know.
Robert, you're saying?
So, we have the informal sector, and like you rightly said, a person would even know. I remember in our village, we had a lady, once she would have a snake bite, they would rush you to her.
Yes.
And even if she knew the medicine, some leaves and what, and she has then comes when you can't. No, because at the end, one time we were playing soccer and one was hit by a snake, so we rushed there. And funny enough, this lady was meandering around. So now, how do we empower such people? Because the world has developed, we can no longer have wujo. We need to have this on shelves of pharmacies. We need to have some, their rate of how shelf life has to be improved, where previously shelf life was not an issue, Felix, because we didn't have the pharmacies. Now, how do we empower these traditional, locally known people so that we don't have only professors, lecturers, experts, doctors have this on market?
Well, of course, Robert, we must take a clear caution into how we formulate relevancy for what I call the informal. But that's a move that must be generalized to create professionalism in informal situations. Try to gamble even about education, that these people, you see, professionalism cannot be limited to education. Let's take it down to informal people. As long as someone can be good in a particular area, we can pick that to professionalize. Now, what you're saying, that to remove the rujo, like if you can have it on shelves, now that means that we must make investment in professionalizing what is informal.
We have some messages.
Well, of course, a couple of messages must already coming in, but I think those will be giving you much later, Robert, in earlier segments, because there are quite many and we want to open them and read them out.
Well, we shall now return with what is trending in the print media, but don't forget that in GMU Agenda, we're honored, humbled to be hosting the Archbishop of the Church of Uganda, with whom we are going to be discussing the fundraising for the church house. I know many of you have heard of this. It is something that the Anglican Church has been handling over decades. And finally, the building is there, but there is a call to give towards the ministry of the Lord in far as ensuring that, yes, it is totally owned by the Church of Uganda. We return with the print media.
Was the best decision James has ever made. Finding a good place to watch football was never easy, but it was costly until James discovered something big. Now he can finally enjoy the benefits of homegrown advantage with a decoder and 1 month of GoTV Valley. For just 25,000 shillings, enjoy the world's biggest leagues and cap competitions. GoTV Uganda, love it.
Experience 100% 4G speeds across Uganda with the Airtel 4G Pocket Wi-Fi available at 123,000 shillings only. It comes with 15 GB free for 1 month. Visit the nearest Airtel shop, device selling shop or Airtel online shop. www.airtel.co.ug/broadband-discover. Airtel, the smartphone network.
This is Good Morning Uganda.
To say thank you so much for keeping it with us on UBC TV, and thank you for keeping those messages coming. Now, someone came into my inbox, that is Senkatuka Luke, and told me, Robert, tell Felix why it's hard to formalize or professionalize the informal sector is they don't want to disclose their formulas. That is why the lady you referred to had to ensure she squeezes that even when they die, some of them die with their knowledge. That is one of the things.
You just have to pay them well, Senka. Pay them well.
So much as you tell them.
They can't give their concoctions for peanuts. I think that's the actual problem. The government can pay them well and use them. Simple. Everyone in the world wants to earn from their efforts.
So when they tell them, bring your formula so that we can authenticate
for $1 billion shillings, who can refuse?
Okay.
You'll see formulas you've even never heard of.
Well, let's do what we are supposed to be doing at this time, which is giving you a hint of some of the stories in the dailies. I have the New Vision, Felix has the Daily Monitor and the Daily Nation as well. In the New Vision, a very big headline there, Museveni speaks out on massacre murders. President says political actors involved. And this is where we saw the word pigs resurface again regarding those that are carrying out these murders. Then FDC MP loses seat. That is the petitions that are going on and the hearing. Remember, the judiciary commenced hearing of election petitions. Then Uganda's silverbacks trump Nigeria. So they give you much on the sports. And looking at the education sector, today they have brought you Senior 3 Biology, Chemistry, Geography, plus Senior 2 English. This is what is there for you. Still exciting bride and groom expo. Okay, there's so much regarding those that have intentions for having weddings. There's so much information for you there. And of course, Ministry of Health on COVID-19. Don't be a super spreader of COVID-19. So they give you things you must do. Have your mask on, wash your hands, keep social distancing, and avoid crowds.
Well, of course, in the Daily Monitor, we will catch massacre killers, Museveni says. And, of course, it says no force can defeat the government, killing split house down in middle, and, of course, blames killings on wayward politicians. They also give you profiles of people who have been killed in cold blood so far. Quite painful there. But also government says it won't reopen schools now. Now, Ugandans don't want to leave Afghanistan. And government plans to build 12 new markets. But of course, also inside the papers, Kenyan envoy under fire for hunting in Namibia. And also thousands of Germans left in Afghanistan. About 10,000 to 40,000 local staff working there. And of course, from the archives, the President Museveni signs a peace agreement with Uganda's People Defense Army, Lieutenant Colonel Angelo Okello, there in Gulu town, that is in 1988. Now, also today in history, Museveni addresses UPM at Entebbe, that is on the 1st September 1980, and Gaddafi leads coup in Libya, that was in 1969.
So much when it comes to today in history, interesting stories that happened. In the New Vision, still, we look at the COVID-19 tracker, where new confirmed cases 90, positivity rate 3.2, then death 6, and that is 6, the number. So thank you for abiding, and of course with this low death being registered. Total death, we have 3,012. So please do not be part of these statistics. Let's stick to the soaps and follow them to the letter. Still, as symptoms, we have fever, a cough, shortness of breath, sore throat, and a headache. The faster, the earlier, the better are the chances of you to recover from COVID in case you've contracted it. So seek medical attention and advice. Then facts or myth, should I worry about clothes after I have been outside? The experts answer that. And we look at today in history. It was on this very date, the 1st of September, but the year 2001, when that is a Total Power of Africa rally, Charlie Lubega copped a fine of 2,000, fast-tracking performance by winning, that is the race there. And still, it was on this date, but the year 1985, when the remains of the Titanic were located. Not even God can sink the great Titanic. And what happened? The iceberg proved that is above all. Yes, Felix.
Now in sports, Uganda shut down Nigeria for last 8 slot, while we saw the Silverbacks danced and sang themselves horses in the dressing room soon after eliminating Nigeria to qualify for their first ever qualifiers, quarterfinals at the AfroBasketball. They are in only their 3rd appearance. Now, of course, also transfer deadline is today. Homecoming, Cristiano Ronaldo to Man United. I am back where I belong, and he comes to dedicate the same to Sir Alex Ferguson. Now, Dubs keeper Nachiziro repels Simba Queens, and of course they give you an insight in how the Uganda game went in basketball. Now, armed with the BP Aroma, awaits second chance there at the Olympics Tokyo 2020, and Kukundakwe's first coach wants more para swimmers at Paris 2024. Now, Africa Junior Bronze for Uganda badminton team there, and Cranes talk up EA Derby. And of course, our Stars Cheptegei Kiplimo for USPA Quarterly Awards.
Well, in the New Vision sport, it's not any different apart from the good performance of our guys that is in the Afro basket, where Uganda proved to, that is Nigeria, 80-68. And of course, they give you the players there that were in this team or that are doing us proud there, and also more regarding that is a basketball and the ongoing that is FIFA Afro Basketball in Rwanda tournament this very year. Ghost not bothered. Well, that is more still the FIFA 2020 World Cup qualifiers. They give you more of what is happening and what you could expect more there. But remember, these and more, Ruben will be here to give you all the details, the catchy stories, the exciting moments, why the sack money was later taken by a money lender, and maybe how we can ensure sustainability of our team, because they're proven that despite some of the challenges, they are still able to do us proud.
Now, of course, much of that we'll be getting, but of course, let's take a sneak peek into what's happening in the Daily Nation, while we see ODM wants IEBC to give parties more time to conduct primaries. and robbers feast at officers' home. Now, of course, those urging unity says differences between the two could cause, among the supporters, that is pressure piles for Uhuruto handshake there. Quite much we are waiting to see ahead of the 2022 polls. The question is this a well, of course, people are saying some of this is basically just a scam by the two to prepare for what will be coming, or actually the ugly truth of deception in this particular camp. But more of that, get yourself copies of the Daily. You'll be able to understand and read more insights of these stories. But of course, we also have Molen on the other side, who's ready to take us through some of your comments and of course to share with us what will be happening, what your true sentiments on a poll question. Yes, Molen.
Yes, we do have more of those comments coming up, but first we want to take a look into our weather and nature on what are trending in the news and in the world of weather, and after that we'll be looking at more of your comments. Now, well, today we have more coming from the World Atlas of Mortality and Economic Losses from Weather, Climate and Weather Extremes. Now, those are coming to us from the World Meteorological Organization, and that is for the period of 1970 up to 2019. Now, this atlas is going to be looking at more regards to what has been happening with extreme weather, and that looks at events in terms of flooding, where we've had a lot of flooding, where we've had a lot of drought events, heat waves, and also for more of what has been out of the ordinary. Now, the World Atlas looks at different areas of the world where there has been record-breaking temperatures, where there has been more frequency in terms of extreme weather. And that is the first of its kind. The World Meteorological Organization is saying that this is the first of its kind that has been exhaustive in terms of looking at the climate variations and being associated with individual weather events in terms of extreme weather. And this is what we're going to be looking at today, that the World Meteorological Organization will be giving us. Now, they have made a cover of this atlas, and the cover is showing a tornado that is starting from the clouds, hailing from the clouds into the sea, and this is really a beautiful picture. I find it really beautiful and interesting. But more on that, we want to take a look at our total rainfall for the month of September, the first week of September, and that goes up to 7th of September. Now, over Uganda, we're still looking at more on West Nile, that is expected to have more wet weather activities, and that is in the deep green colors. We do have also part of the green that are within parts of Midwestern Uganda. Also, the Mount Elgon Highlands is still in the highlight for having more wet weather activities forecasted over that area. Now, much of Uganda is in yellow and orange. Those areas are expected to have reduced wet weather activities. We're looking at mostly the Karamoja region, expected to have less wet weather activities as we head for the first week of September, and also more in terms of exceptional rainfall. Now, exceptional rainfall, we're looking at more of those areas that are in the hotspot for having more above normal rainfall for that area. Now, we're looking at mostly central northern Uganda as well as West Nile. That area can expect to have much more rainfall compared to the rest of the country. The rest of the country for Uganda, you can see it's still in white. That means we'll have within rainfall within the normal range. But West Nile and central Uganda, you can look out to have more wet weather activities that are very, very heavy rainfall. And also for mean temperatures, still going up to the 7th of September, we're looking at how temperatures will be trending like across the country and for the region. Most of them actually in the yellow colors, that is between 24 to 28 degrees Celsius, mostly for South Sudan and also Kenya. But Uganda, we want to look at still northern Uganda. We have that part of West Nile where you see the orange yellow color here. that shows the areas that will be within the 20s, and that is actually lower 20s. It looks like temperatures are going to be cool over there, but still take a look at that blue in over part of Lake Victoria Basin, that is central Lake Victoria Basin, extending up to parts of central, eastern parts of central. Then we also have western Uganda and Kabale Highlands, that is also across the Rwenzori region. That area is still in blue, indicating that temperatures are going to be quite low over that area, going up to 20. At least more of that will be below 20s, and that is the mean temperatures expected for the region. That is by 7th of September. Well, we have more that are coming in terms of our weather and nature. We'll be looking at our forecast later. That is across different areas within the country. Now we want to take a look at some of the comments that are coming in from our viewers. Well, this is someone saying, good morning, Robert and Felix. I think government can help them by reducing on stringent and giving them confidence to come up openly. Well, that is a nice one. Still coming in from he has not put a name, but he says those are good intentions, but money that is given to professors may attract fake herbal remedies. Well, also someone says Felix creates enforcement when law enforcers are also corrupt. Wow, those are nice, but we'll go ahead and take a look at our forecast for this morning for different areas across the country. But I can tell you we've started off with mostly intervals of sunny and cloudy conditions. We do have rains in the forecast, starting off with central Lake Victoria Basin. That is where we have Kampala. That is where we have Entebbe, Wakiso. We are forecasting mostly rainy conditions, but those will be over a few areas. And temperatures expected to be quite low. It feels cold outside even for now, but this morning we still expect temperatures to be in the lower range at 23 degrees centigrade. Looking more in central Lake Victoria, in central northern Uganda, we do expect those rains also across much of that region. They will be mostly scattered, and temperatures are likely to be at 24 degrees centigrade, quite cold weather over that area. We do expect more rains to come in later, even in the afternoon. Well, across the eastern parts of central, we do have Wobulenzi, we have Ruwero, we have Nakaseke. We are forecasting rainy conditions, and those are expected to be at 23 degrees centigrade. Quite cold weather this morning across that area. We already have that rainy system that is moving in, and you can expect to have rains this morning. Well, eastern Uganda, that is where we have Soroti, we have Katakwi, we have Amuria, we have Kumi. We're forecasting isolated showers, and temperatures are expected to be at 25 degrees centigrade for this morning. Well, for parts of Jinja, Iganga, Busia, Tororo, we have those rains in the forecast. It is already starting to rain across Jinja, and that area, the entire area is expected to receive these rains this morning, and temperatures expected at 25 degrees centigrade, also cold, and most of that is linked to the wet weather activities expected in that area. Well, across Mount Elgon Highlands, looking at Mbale, looking at Bududa, Buko and Sironko, we're forecasting light rains, and those will be across the entire area. Already cloudy conditions moving in towards Mbale, and those rains expected any time from now. You can look out for that, and temperatures are quite cold at 22 degrees centigrade. Also, I can link that to the wet weather activities forecasted over that area. Now, southwestern Uganda, that is where we have Mbarara, we have Ibanda, we have Bushenyi, Rubirizi. Still, we have rainy conditions in the forecast, and temperatures expected at 22. Still cold weather expected over that area. It is already cold with those clouds moving in right now, but those will be later developing into rainy conditions over that area. Looking more across the western part of Lake Victoria Basin, that is across Masaka, across Zimbabwe, Rakai and Kalisizo, we are forecasting isolated showers. Temperatures expected at 24 degrees centigrade over that area. Well, we look ahead and look at the satellites, what is being covered over the country right now. I can tell you we are looking at more rainy conditions that are developing this morning. We have one across the Karamoja region that is already bringing more rains across that area. The Karamoja region, especially the northern part of this area, is having where you see the red colors, actually deep red colors. These are heavy rains being experienced over there right now. We also do have rains already across that central part of northern Uganda. We have that in the forecast, but Padel, Kitgum is already, these areas are already experiencing those rains as we speak right now. But take a look at West Nile, that is the northwestern part of Uganda. We have Yumbe, we have Arua and Daberio. That area is already having those heavy rains, most especially across Arua. Those rains are heavy and are still expected to continue. The system is moving a little bit inwards, and that will bring us rains still over the northwestern part of the country, and most of that will be moving in. Also taking a look at Gulu, already having mostly cloudy conditions but still clear for now. That system is expected to reach that area, and that will be bringing us more rainy conditions. Now across Western Uganda, we have that rain system that is stretching from part of Lake Albert but continuing Fort Portal. You can expect rains anytime from now. That system is also moving in towards your area and will be bringing rains any time this morning. Also looking at Kasese, still already having those cloudy conditions but rainy conditions expected over that area. Ivanda also having effects of this rain system that is moving in, and that is also likely to bring wet weather activities over that area. Now we do have a larger system that is developing across Lake Victoria, and this is already in deep red colors to orange to yellow. This is already bringing heavy rains over the lake, but this is moving in towards the island. We do have Kalangala. That area can expect to have wet weather activities. It is actually the same system that is likely to be bringing more rains across the western part of Lake Victoria. That is where we have Masaka. That area can expect to have wet weather activities. It is already in dark gray, clouds starting to develop, and those are also likely to bring us rains later as the morning progresses. We do see mostly this area across eastern Uganda and also for Mount Elgon Highlands, where you see the yellow to blue colors. Those are already rains over that area. We do have Kamuli still in that hotspot, Nakasongola, Ruwero. The eastern part of central can expect to have more rains developing as this system continues to develop. But we already have those rains across Kabiramaido, Soroti, and that area. Also Amuria starting to pick up in terms of wet weather. This is going to be mostly throughout the entire morning, and more is developing. But we shall see a clearing trend, especially across the Mount Elgon Highland as the day progresses. But we do see this system that is still moving in from Lake Victoria. That is likely to also influence parts of Kampala, Wakiso, Entebbe, but it is still quite a distance still over the lake, but we do expect it to move inwards, and that will be bringing us rainy conditions. Looks like most areas within the country this morning have started off with rainy conditions, but the good news is that most of those will clear as the day progresses, and we'll look at a clear day, and that, I think that is also what is bringing us those cold weather conditions across most areas. Well, I'll leave you at that. We'll be having Good Morning Uganda agenda. We're looking at mostly what is happening across Uganda, but specifically this morning Robert will be taking you through looking at fundraising in the Church of Uganda. But later we also have sports. Ruben will be here to take you through. I'm Molin Kenyana, and I want to wish you a good morning.
This is Good Morning Uganda.
Buli munya-Uganda nayitinga amakuru marungi. UBC West eyina amakuru marungi kandi agali kwesigwa. rero za porogaramu zayo ziri omulunya kitara hamwe n'urufumbira. UBC West eine tekinologiya ey'omulembe eri kugibasisa kuhika omu bicweka byona omu ihanga nangu n'aheru y'ihanga. Tukwatire aha frequency zetu: Kisoro 97.7 fama, Kabare 93.7 fama, Hoima 99.1 fama, Kampala 5.7 fama, Mbarara 95.4 fama, Futpoto 98.8 fama, Masindi 5 fama. Kurikiriza UBC West ohurire mbaganiza. UBC West empika huna.
Echa COVID-19